Boys, it is very, very much time for our first ever hot seat guest. We have on the line Paul Edbrook. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I wasn't aware it was a hot seat.
We won't be doing anything too strenuous, Paul. We just saw this as an opportunity to talk to you, and we might look at trying to give other people a grill because you've been doing some fantastic things in the local Frankston community. Personally, was quite saddened to understand the fate of the Frankston Football Club and where it lies. They won't be competing in the VFL this season, and it's a detriment to the VFL that they aren't a part of it, but thanks to a great group of volunteers and obviously yourself, there's people now at the club, back down there at Car Street, saying we won't be forgotten, we're building again and looking to return back to the VFL as soon as you can.
Yeah, well, look, I wasn't a person that was in a position to say we can lose this club, and we had some others that said, oh, well, that's over. It was a good time. It just doesn't make sense. The club's more than a footy club for our community. It's a conduit for people to come through and join the AFL ranks. Even last night, I think it was Nick Newman. He was a former Dolphin in his debut Swans game. This guy kicks a goal. It's a great news story, but it's more than a footy club for Frankston because we have a community full of young people who need role models, and these are the best role models for some of these kids. People the likes of Nick Newman, Michael Hibbard, Mark Bagley. It gives a fairly diverse community a common focus, and I think that the fight to save the Dolphins VFL licence has really banded some people together and given us that common goal. And we're well on our way to getting that VFL licence back. The key at the moment is community support. We put the club in a very, very solid position where the state government wrote off around $450,000 worth of debt, and that was a very hard fight. We even got the Premier involved, but we need people to realise that we're not there yet, and you can become a member and become part of the history of saving this club for only $50, a special membership fee of $50 for this season. There's a lot going on this year to come down and see as well, and experience what you spoke about, the bongo drums on the hill, the great atmosphere. And I mean, even if you just come down to Frankston to maybe catch one game and it's a bit of a drive for you, there's a lot to do in Frankston at the moment. We've got awesome footy, but the best beach on the peninsula, cafes, sandcastles, the McClellan Gallery, everything going on at the Arts Centre. There's a lot happening in Frankston at the moment, and we just couldn't afford to lose the footy club. That was very clear.
Definitely, and I agree with what you're saying there, Paul. One thing that I guess to the novice people who follow football wouldn't really understand is the fact that Frankston has actually been a breeding ground for AFL talent, and
correct, yeah.
Narre Football Club is one that's out here in the Settlement, which we cover, have had players transition from their football club through Frankston Reserves and get the opportunity to play at the highest level. But out of all the VFL clubs, this is used in the last decade, probably as an example, I think Frankston is one of the, if not the highest team represented at AFL level in terms of players who have been recruited from there. And there's also been other successful players who started their careers at Frankston. For the southeast suburbs, and I know we're over here in Cranbourne, but just down 20 minutes down the highway is a big pool of football talent, and now that there's going to be opportunities for some young people who might miss out after missing, they might make the Stingrays, but they might not make it to AFL, and Frankston has provided an opportunity for them to further develop themselves as footballers and also serve their local community.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that lots of people are finding that out just now. It hasn't been a common thought in the community, but people are finding out that this is a breeding ground for talent. And the funny thing is, we've got these people coming back who played footy at a VFL level with the Dolphins years ago, like Peter Geddes, Mick O'Neill, people like that who have actually come back and they formed the steering committee and they've worked their absolute butts off to make this happen. I must say too, we've got Gary Buccanara on board as the general manager now, a childhood hero of mine, and I got to meet him a couple of months ago, and I was a little bit nervous to tell you the truth, but when you get someone of that calibre in as your general manager, you know you're on the right track. And some of the sponsors who have come or re-signed their sponsorships because they know what's happening and they know that we can't lose this football club for the community, not just because it's a sporting club, not just because it provides role model for youth in our community, but because it's part of our community fabric, and losing it is a real kick in the guts. So it's been fantastic to see some of those players who maybe haven't been down to the Dolphins ground in years just go, nah, this isn't going to happen. We are actually going to fight and win this fight. So I think we've got till June 30th to prove to the AFL that we can operate a club efficiently. Formerly, we did have some issues in that area with some people in charge, but that's behind us now, and we've got to move forward. We just have to show the AFL that we do have a model that can go into the future, and we've just got to get people buying memberships and saying, hey, I'm part of history, I'm saving the Frankston Dolphins.
One thing that's very important, which I was lucky enough to sign up to, if people want to get involved with what you're doing, there is a change.org petition, and we need at least 1,000 members by June 30. So you're looking for people to sign up for the club for only $50, and to some people that's a lot of money, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But if you're passionate about the club and you want to see it survive, that's $50,000. Let's not joke about it, and that will go a long way for the club to really secure itself by that cut-off of June 30, when I guess it will be submitted back to AFL Victoria hierarchy, and they'll make that the final decision on the club.
Yeah, I just urge people to go to the Frankston Dolphins website. As someone said the other day, $50 is a slab of beer, and if you can go without that for a week, well, you've brought yourself into a part of history. If you go to Frankston Dolphins website, you'll be able to join up the club for $50. We've got a brand new function centre or club rooms sitting there, which are only 2 or 3 years old, cost $5 million. We've got a brand new stand, and a beautiful ground in the best city by the bay. We need a footy team, and it's so much a part of Frankston's fabric, and it is so much a breeding ground of success on and off the field. So, just urge people to get involved.
Look, if anyone's listening out there and knows a little bit more about Paul, it was in the papers last year. If you doubt Paul's dedication to a cause or what he thinks he can do for the community, Paul was overseas last year in Tel Aviv, and Paul's an ex-firefighter, and he helped save a man's life over there who was on the ground there and not breathing. So if you're not sure about Paul's dedication to something, he's a very, very passionate community minded person, so he's doing a lot for the community out there.
Can we get Paul to elaborate on that story? That's pretty dramatic, Doc.
Yeah, you don't drop a bombshell like that and then move on.
I don't know if bomb's the right terminology for
Paul, would you like to elaborate a little bit for us, Paul?
Yeah, I was in Israel doing some research on innovation hubs, which we've just supported one here in Frankston. So we're making Frankston like a small business innovation capital, I guess. And so I'm over there, and I just finished a meeting for the night, and the crew I was with were just sitting down, and a guy on the pavement was either punched, king hit, or had some sort of seizure, and was in a bit of trouble, and no one really seemed to have taken notice. So we went over there and provided some assistance. That's all there was to it.
Been very humble about it.
Very modest.
So humble.
Just so other things don't get missed here, we know that the Frankston Dolphins is something that you're really passionate about and pushing at the moment, especially with the June 30 deadline. But after having a chat to some of your staff and just how much you're involved in local sport, you're a sponsor or get involved with the Pines Soccer Club.
Yeah, that's correct.
You also sponsor the women's team as well of the Seaford Football Club.
Yeah, I sponsor a player. Yep.
Yeah, so they'll be hopefully we'll be broadcasting some of those games this year, and you're also sponsoring someone involved in the downhill mountain bike racing. So there's ways that you've really got behind some local sports and some local sports stars.
At a state level, I guess we also do quite a bit for sport in Frankston. Of course, we've got the Frankston Dolphins with the $450,000 write-off to get them going, but the Junior Dolphins, we gave them $100,000 for female-friendly facilities and some lighting. The Frankston Raiders Rugby Club, which is a super club, they're just starting out. We gave them a defib and some training. $85,000 for Eric Bell netball in Frankston North. Around 300 plus for the Frankston Peninsula Cricket Club. some money to the little athletics club. I'm just a big believer in the fact that we hear a lot about people bringing up crime stats and youth unemployment and whatnot, but when you actually drill down and have a think about it, yes, that is a problem, but we're not treating the root cause, and that is we have to show our youth and our kids that there are better ways to do things, there are other avenues, and we have to give them those avenues. If we take things away like sporting facilities, whether it be Frankston Dolphins or whatever, you're actually taking away these avenues for kids, and some of the other options aren't that good. So we've got to be actually active and doing that. Some people have said before that I bit off more like and chew like buggery, but as a former firefighter, I actually don't mind that, and I think we're in a winning position in Frankston at the moment. New train station, new main street, saving the footy club, supporting schools. That's what it's all about, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, one thing that we should really elaborate on is the basketball facilities in Frankston needing an overhaul, and you're right behind that.
Yeah, and this is a massive focus for us right now in the next couple of days. We've got a situation where negotiations between the council and the Frankston District Basketball Association have failed on a $12.7 million project. It is a situation where we've got teams playing at 11 at night. We need an expansion, and that's why the money was put down by all levels of government. Now, some people would come out and say it's a cash grab from council. I'll wait. At the moment, we've basically intervened at a state government level by getting the sports and rec facilities people to basically analyse what's going on and help out at this stage. But there is no way in hell that project is going to fall through because some bureaucrat or some person in council or the basketball stadium decides that their ego gets in the way of our community. We are going to make sure that goes ahead. We don't get involved in $12.7 million projects and let someone throw it out the window for whether it be a cash grab or just because negotiations fail. It's too important to our community, and we just won't let it fail.
It's important, as you mentioned, there's some negative media reports about Frankston. It's easy to, jump on board that, but there are some real positive things happening for the local community, which will, something that's really going to benefit everybody in the Frankston and the Mornington Peninsula.
Yeah, that's correct. And we just can't let speed humps get in the way of progress in regards to things that actually mean so much for our community. But what it really needs is the main protagonists in the deal to sit down and work it out properly. If the state government has to intervene in that, we will. I'd rather we didn't. I think we're all big boys and big girls, and it should be a case of just common sense. But obviously at this point it's not.
For the benefit of the listeners out there, we're speaking to Paul Ebrote, the local member of Parliament for the lower house in the state of Victoria. I've noticed a few photos out there. You've got with the hashtag Stand with the Dolphins, which is the pertinent subject we're talking about this morning, Paul. So how can people get on board with that? There's 2,000 people that have already signed the petition. You've got some photos. I've seen other local members of Parliament and Daniel Andrews. Everyone's behind it. What can people do to jump on board to encourage the kick-off? Because there was 35 people employed at the club at the time, wasn't there, Paul?
Yeah, that's correct. And getting the deed of company agreement signed instead of letting the Dolphins go into liquidation meant that those people could get paid, players could get paid, and keep playing, hopefully. But also companies and businesses locally that were owed money could at least get some of their money back. If people want to get involved, the petition's kind of a bit old now. We've moved to a new phase, and I just urge people to go to frankstonfc.com.au and join as a member. That's the easiest and best way you can get behind the Dolphins and see the Dolphins have a bright future. And hopefully we get our VFL licence back. In fact, I'm very confident we will, with the likes of Gary Buckenara, Ian Dicker came and had a chat to us, also David Friend, and our major sponsors like Michelle Graham from Graham Quarries coming back on board.
Paul, thanks so much for spending some time with us this morning.